What are some of the top questions that producers are asking you right now, even with the tough year weather-wise? Do you find that they're still pretty optimistic overall?
So I think we've seen a little bit of loss of optimism of late. I think the number one question that I continue to get is, Scott, I want to hold my calves for another 60 or 90 days. Is that going to be a good strategy? I quickly remind them that my crystal ball is about as cloudy as theirs in terms of making that decision, but a lot of folks that just aren't happy with where feeder cattle prices have been, I remind them that we're still talking about calf crops that have been at reasonably high levels of late, and so one can be less than optimistic. Just across the board, all of these commodities, I think prices have not been at levels that have made producers very excited about trying to produce.
And wanted to mention to the folks at home watching, you've also helped in putting together the U.S. Baseline Outlook Report Update, which is done through the Food and Ag Policy Research Institute at the University of Missouri, where you are. And we're going to have a link to that on the Market Journal website. But in the meantime, Scott, give us a little background on this report and how it's beneficial to the producer.
Yeah, so I sometimes say, this is a longer term outlook. We're talking about 5 years down the road. I don't get so wrapped up in the individual outcomes in terms of year by year prices as I do what's the overall trends we're talking about in that modeling effort that we do. And I continue to talk a lot about, when I look at ag prices generally, we talk about a lot of sideways. So not a lot of impetus for prices to go up or down from where we sit. Of course, things like weather matter, disease events that we hadn't predicted matter in this, but unless you get some big external shock affecting us, we should plan on more of this sideways action. Now, I think as well, when you see the numbers, and I don't care whether you talk crop prices or livestock prices, there's likely more downside risk in these markets than upside potential. The things that again bother me is on the livestock side in particular, we'll be up this year 4% in pork production growth. It looks like 2020 will grow again. We might start slowing down the growth in beef production, but I'm not certain we're going to turn it down in 2020. So growing meat supplies continue to put pressure on markets. I think you can look at the crop side of the equation as well, and I'll say I think we could plant a lot of acres of corn next year. And if we have average weather, we could have fairly large crop of corn, and I go more soybeans planted as well. The supply side of this equation, to me, suggests at best sideways and some risk for lower prices as we look ahead.